Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Legacy, the podcast where we delve into the stories that shape our lives and the lessons we carry forward. I'm your host, Cedric D. Nelson, and I'm excited to embark on this journey of discovery, growth, and inspiration with you. Whether you're seeking motivation, guidance, or simply a moment of reflection, Life, Lessons, and Legacy is here to accompany you on your quest for fulfillment and purpose. So sit back, open your mind, and let's embark on this transformative journey together. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Life Lessons and Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Cedric D. Nelson, and today I'm honored to have the guest, Dr. Kendrick Bailey. Dr. Bailey, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Hey, thank you for being a guest. I'm looking forward to the listeners learning more about you, what you do, and your passion, and just your vision. So I want to start. What's your background? Where are you from, and etc.
I am from Glen Allen, Mississippi, and my background is in counseling. I got a undergrad degree in psychology and master's and doctorate in counselor education, and so I'm passionate about helping people heal, helping them discover their purpose, and helping them become dynamic leaders.
Okay, I like that. I like that. So what's your career background?
Okay, so graduated high school in 2000. Then I did Mississippi State from 2000 to 2004. I was also a part of the Mississippi Army National Guard. So I deployed to combat from December 2004 to December 2005. Came back, went back to Mississippi State for in August of 2006 to 2008, got my master's.
Okay.
Then I started working in the College Counseling Center at Mississippi State for about 2 years.
Okay.
Then I went to a hospital setting for a year and worked with, Jerry Psych. And then I did about 7 years at the VA hospital. And in 2017, I started, me and my from a business partner started iProgress.
Okay.
And just wanted to, be entrepreneurs and really just start our own path and carve out our own legacy in the emotional wellness arena.
Okay, that's impressive. Even that track record. All the stuff you've done since Mississippi State, and decide to start your own business. We'll go talk about goals in a minute. But what you said you started your business because you wanted to make your kind of carve your own niche or whatever.
Because everywhere I went, everywhere you go, you kind of hit your ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And although I've learned great things from the different jobs I had, within like 3 to 4 years, I pretty much got to the top of where I could go. And at the VA, it's a federal system.
Mm-hmm.
Having a doctorate degree and being a counselor, we were still new in the profession as far as being in the system. And so you had to go through a lot of changes just to kind of move up in progression.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought it would be better out just to, do counseling and consulting the way I envision it, instead of the way someone else envisioned.
Okay. And I tell people all the time, like it's something empowering about working for yourself. Because like you say, you can pursue your vision or how you think it should be. When you're working for someone else in another company, then you're basically pushing their vision and they are pushing on you how they think the job should be done. But you and I both are in the field where we deal with people. And the more you work with people, the more you understand how people really work. Like
Yeah.
what really does work, as opposed to what this company may tell you. You have to make this quota, you have to have these numbers or those numbers, as opposed to just treat them like people. When you start your own, you get that more, human aspect of it all. Like you're not just a number.
It definitely is a numbers game. Is how many people you see, how much funds can you generate for the organization, and sometimes you fall out of alignment with their core values because core values don't align with yours. And I think that's part of what happened as I grew professionally and personally. What I saw as the pinnacle to this profession was different than where I was. I mean, I believe that we're never, gonna stop learning. We're never gonna stop growing. And so, in having that mindset, I needed to, have a space where I could, constantly have room to knock down walls and to become the professional and leader that I feel like I, saw in my vision or in my dream.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's impressive. I'm telling you, man. So what, I guess our next question would be, what are your goals? What are your professional and personal goals?
Personal goals is to, live a life of wellness, maintain, first of all, stay spiritually balanced and stay connected with God and to give back, by leading his children, by teaching them the things that I've learned, but also just volunteering and being a good steward and disciple. As far as, professional goals is, I progress to become a polarizing business in the community as far as what we do as far as helping people heal, but also helping them discover what they want to do and then leading the path of, changing how we look at leadership, starting by teaching everybody that they was created to lead in some aspect of their lives, but they was also at birth destined to be great. But we got to figure out who our identity is spiritually, and then that helps us to focus on who we are personally and professionally. I think if we can get all those things aligned, we can tap into being the best version of ourselves, and it's not guided or directed by what society deems you supposed to focus on, but it's more ingrained in who you are at the core.
Okay, I like that answer. And it's something you said in the beginning. I thought about also when you mentioned God. You talk about religion and that whole aspect of it all, how important it is to use that as your guide. I was talking to Miss English probably a couple of weeks ago on a previous pod, and she was talking about how sometimes we think we have these plans, and then God comes and was like, I don't have, that's not what I have for you. This is what I have for you. So stop fighting me, stop trying to go left and I'm trying to make you go right. And
Oh
then
yeah.
once you finally start listening, going right, like, okay, God is, I tell people all the time, like even this podcast, I think of as doing God's work.
Mhm.
Like, so it doesn't feel like work to me. And kind of what you're doing, you're, talking about God and using God as your driving force, as your guide, it makes life so much easier. And I try to tell the younger
Yeah.
generation, like, put God in it, and everything else will take care of itself.
Oh yeah, because I look at the work I'm doing now as more ministry work, even though I'm a counselor. But the consulting, the counseling, the teaching is all driven by who I am as a kingdom man or believer. I think a lot of times what I thought was going to be my dream job. I'll tell
Yep.
you now, my dream job was the VA because I
Okay.
wanted to be in the federal system. And I was listening to this sermon the other day. Sometimes when you have a dream job and then when you finally get in the dream job, you realize it was just a dream. It really wasn't all you thought it was going to be.
Uh-huh.
Because for again, when you hit that ceiling so fast, what's next? And
Yep.
so what's next for me was just to knock down the walls of how I looked at life in the profession. Because we look at things, you know, we always box ourselves in and how we look at things. It's black and white thinking. It got to be this or that is good, bad, right, or wrong. When it's so much more to that, I try to look at the balance of everything and perspectives of everything, so I can have an educated understanding of everything that comes with things. So I always look at things from a spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, relational, financial, and purpose perspective. And that way I'm well informed in what I'm getting. Because if I just look at it in one way, I could miss a lot of the things that, my clients or the people that look to me for knowledge, but I also could miss a lot in how I walk in life for myself.
True. And something else you said that was important about, like you do counseling, but it's kind of like a ministry because
Mhm.
you think about the people's lives that you're impacting. I mean, you may be the most impactful person that they've ever came across. And you don't know. I tell people all the time and what we do, I don't know what this person dealt with earlier today. I may be the most encouraging person they encountered the whole entire week. So no, I like that. I like the ministry aspect of it all. Again, doing God's work. Um, so my next question, at least the next question. So what life lessons have you learned along the way?
Don't be so rigid with your plans. And you kind of hit on it a little earlier about your will. What Kendrick wants to do may not be what God wants me to do. So I've had to learn to submit my will and trust, God's will and God's plan and vision for my life. Because Kendrick's will get me in trouble. Trusting him and staying in alignment with him, I have a much better chance of fulfillment, and success. And fulfillment and success again, most of the time right now is spiritually, and then it's your own personal wellness, how you feel physically, but also how you feel emotionally and mentally. So that's really big for me right now, especially being 42, looking at life a lot different than I did 20 years ago. And so just taking my time and just learning patience. That's one of the hardest lessons I've learned in the past 3 years is patience in the waiting period. It teaches you a lot about you, but you have to sometimes shift your strategy in order to overcome some of the hurdles that you're experiencing. Because if I'm applying outdated methods or tactics, it's not going to work. So how do I come up with an innovative way and an innovative strategy for longevity? And so with business, it transcended to consulting being and writing being a big piece of what I do. So writing content, therapy is always be something I'm gonna do. Seeing like 5 to 10 clients a week, but that's just gonna be a small piece. Really shaping people's minds with the content for as writing curriculum, doing podcasts, teaching in traditional and non-traditional platforms. But instead of teaching what other people wrote, teach what I wrote. Because one of the things that I'm learning is there's a big shift in what we do. So 50, 60 years ago, we're still kind of using those outdated, strategies. It's time for us to come up with new innovative things to reach our kids and to reach the people we serve because technology is everywhere. So either we change with the times or we lose our grip and connection with the people that we want to serve.
I agree. And I was telling someone else that it's kind of like the podcast and you talking about, sharing information. We're no longer in an age where we've both written books. We'll talk about it also, but your book, we've written books. And then there's a, I guess I would say a group of people, a demographic that will actually read the books. But we're dealing with the younger generation and everything they do is technology based. Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook is probably more so for us now than them, at this point.
Yeah.
But you have to meet them where they are. And like you say, it's kind of like I remember being a kid and they had encyclopedias. And that's how you learned it, And that's if you had a set of encyclopedias, like you were wealthy, like you had it, but now if someone came here,
he's like, what's that?
Yeah, right. Like, is that a brick? Like, what are you selling me what? They would come by, they would sell you encyclopedias, and you like, we got all the knowledge in the world right here in our living room. But that doesn't work anymore. And it's kind of like the same thing with counseling and with behavior services. You have to change with the times because things are changing. And a lot of stuff that we used to be taught or teach, like you say, it's outdated now. And something else funny you said that had me laughing. You talking about patience. Both of us in our 40s now. And we were talking earlier, about working out and all that.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I could work out for 2 weeks and I would see, a 6-pack or an ab, some definition somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, Kendrick, it might be 2 months before anything even looks different. It feels great, but it looks terrible, Or even us talking about just sprinting and just being in all this great shape. Now, I'm not even trying to beat anybody in a foot race. I just want to jog. I want to be mobile.
And that's one of the things that I had to change, being younger and just, and when I was growing up in the military, all we had to do is run 2 miles, do push-ups and sit-ups. Everything was time, 2 minutes, push-ups, sit-ups. And then as long as I ran within 15, minutes, 2 miles, I would get a great score. Well, I had to, get the help of a personal trainer, because I got to change the way I work out now because at 42, I just can just get out there and run and then see results. And so, it takes a commitment for a longer period of time to not look for fast results in a world where we always want quick results. And then again, like we heard the old cliche, the race is given to the one that can endure it. So how long can we endure the challenges that comes with life? And then the lessons that we learn, can we apply it to the different situations or scenarios that we encounter? Because one of the things, to me, counseling is very reactive. It said, of course, people come to therapy because something happened and we got to process it, we got to heal from it, we got to gain awareness, and then you develop tools to overcome it long term. Where I'm more so focused now on the proactive approach is I want to equip people with the skills ahead of time before they experience life challenges or hurdles, because preparation is the key. So they say if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail.
That's it.
But we don't have a plan for our emotional and mental wellness. In relational wellness, a lot of time we wait until something happens. Now we got to get on the forefront and be proactive and develop the tools and skills to, when we do experience those things, we can tap into the resilient part of ourselves. Because with technology, one of the things that our children and people are losing connection with is the relational and emotional intelligence aspect.
Yes.
Because everything is so far in front of them, that whatever they want, they can just reach out to AI, Google,
Yep.
internet, social media to find it. And whereas we don't know how to have conversations to work through things, like we did growing up. Part of riding the bike and falling off the bike was a whole life lesson. We fall off, we dust ourselves up, we get back on, and we try until we succeed. Now, those simple lessons that we used to learn from those, tasks or assignments, we don't get, because a lot of times people learn how to ride bikes from watching videos and from playing games.
Yep.
And so we're trying to, be visual learners, where we're missing that experiential piece.
I agree. And, I said earlier in another pod that we live in a microwave society now where everything is instant. Like you said, if you want some information, Google it and it pops up, as opposed to how we were growing up. Even the whole aspect to me about being outside on bikes, you learn so many lessons because you had to fend for yourself out there. You might have siblings or cousins or friends, but you left the house on your bike or you left your house walking. You had to navigate society throughout the day and make it back home safely before the streetlights came on. So yeah, it's just different. And I do like your approach as far as counseling, being proactive rather than reactive, because that way you give them the tools that they need on the front end. Because a lot of times when people are reactive, someone ends up losing their life or committing a crime, and then it's a little too late to try to fix the situation. Sometimes some situations you can't fix. So, and I have a couple more questions, but I want to, because what you just said, I wanted to see, could you talk a little bit about your book? Because I have a copy and I meant to bring it over here before we got started. Could you tell us about your book and kind of what it's designed to do?
Okay. So the one I wrote back in 2018, released 2019, it was a journey to healthy relationships, healthy you. It's really kind of a self-guided book that focuses on individuals and couples. So individuals can go through that book and look inside of themselves and answer the questions about relational matters and get back on track. Couples, they can answer it. What I always tell them to do is folks, each one of them get the book and they go through it individually first, and then they come together and then they develop the way forward for their relationship. So the book mostly focuses on getting people to think and then take charge of changing how they actually want to go about, living their lives and focusing on relational things. And it looks at them focusing on personal wellness, but them also identifying what works for their life and what doesn't work for their life. And the main component of it is awareness. It brings a lot of awareness to who you are just by answering questions. Because that's one of the challenges I see in working with people all the time. We think we know who we are until we have to look deep within inside, and we start to find out that we really don't know who we are. We know who we were 15, 20 years ago, but we don't know who we are right now. And that's part of the reason that people change jobs when they get older, or sometimes they lose satisfaction with who they are.
Mhm.
If life is about progress and I'm supposed to make progress every year or every week, I
Mhm.
got to make sure I'm keeping up with my progress.
Mhm.
What happens is we stop focusing on progress and we lose our connection with who we are,
Mhm.
and we have to rediscover it over time. So
Mhm.
that's a big part of what the book helps people identify, and
Okay.
it teaches them from a guided perspective of asking them questions over the course of 52 weeks. So it's 52 weeks, 52 questions, and you get a chance to get a deep dive into who you are.
Okay. Well, I love the book. Actually, my wife and I, I ordered it a while ago, and then my daughter was actually looking through it, and my wife and I decided to actually do the steps in the book. So I'll let you know how it goes and all that.
Okay.
But it's good, and I'll make sure when we post this pod that I put a link to your book on there,
Okay.
so
And
everyone
then
can check it out.
I'll show you something new tonight.
Okay.
It's on my website, but it's gonna be released
Okay.
soon. So this is I call it peak potential, is
Okay.
discovering the best version of you. So this is the relational emotional awareness curriculum that I developed for school age children, 4th through 12th grade. And
Okay.
it's a guided process that really gets them over the course of 36 weeks. It really gets them to see who they are for us and helps them form their identity and
Okay.
helps them look around to kind of formulate their world, but also how they deal with the world and then who we want to be. Because
Okay.
a lot of times schools push academics and STEM
Mhm.
and passing the test. And, that's great, but we got to make sure that they're progressing relationally and emotionally as well, so they can learn how to deal with the challenges of, life. So
Mhm.
a lot of things that you're seeing more anxiety in schools
Oh
because
yeah.
of test taking and
Mhm.
state tests.
Mhm.
And so this is a process to be proactive in teaching our students. And I teach them like college students. So
Okay.
regardless of the age, you just bring the language down to their level and then
Mhm.
take them through the process and you teach them how to manage the storms that they encounter. So like I said, if right now is on my website, parents or anyone could, buy it off Shopify and they could download it.
Okay.
But I'm also printing printable copies for school districts and selling them that way, and then going in and teaching it as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll definitely order. I need to order two actually, one for my son, one for my daughter. But I think that's important, Kendra, because we talk about. I will say this: COVID changed things a lot. Like
Yep.
when kids went back to school, they had so much social anxiety. You already had the cell phone that was a barrier, and then you see people who you'll see. I know you and I, both married, so I've been out and seen people at restaurants, and they don't even talk to each other. Like literally,
Just on
yeah,
cell
this the whole time like this, and the food comes, they eat the food, they do, but it's just, I don't know, man, it's different. So I think with this younger generation, especially, that's very helpful. It teaches them to identify who they are, and also you said something important about that identity piece. I think that's important even for adults because I remember myself, the person I was in high school, it kind of carried over to college, but even that person matured, right?
Yeah.
And then when you come out of college, I expected the workforce to be a certain way. And then when I came out, I was like, these people just as immature as
Yeah.
like it's worse. Actually
Yeah.
they have all this freedom now. So then you have to decide, who am I going to be? Am I going to be the person from college? Am I going to be this new person? And whoever this new person is, am I okay being this person? And can I be this person? It's kind of like I tell people in college, everybody's quote unquote trying to be cool, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm cool. But when you come out, being quote unquote cool isn't cool. What is cool is being educated, being
Yeah.
able to speak proper grammar, being able to hold a real adult-like conversation, to be able to hone in on your craft and to work and getting better. But those things are not things that are really reinforced in college or high school. So that's why I think what you're talking about finding out who you are is important, because like a lot of people get lost when they come out of high school and college you
Mhm.
know? So, oh, that's huge though. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Because one of the pieces that's missing is we take people through all these schools,
Mm-hmm.
so K through 12 college, but one thing we're not teaching them is how to be leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to learn how to be all of that. Some of us are fortunate to have mentors, and that
Mm-hmm.
helps. But we're not teaching people how to be one of the things that God created us to be, a leader. And
Okay.
so everybody has and Darius Daniels talks about it all the time. We all have an area of influence that we're supposed to dominate in.
Okay.
And so part of that identity piece is teaching, helping people discover their gifts and talents, but then helping them be bold and learning how to lead from that area of influence that they're supposed to be impactful on.
Okay.
Because I tell people all the time, since all of us was created to be great and all of us have gifts and talents, that means each one of us is a talent scout. We got the ability to see what's great about everybody.
Okay.
Now, but depending on who leads us, we use those talents for our good, or we help them hone in on their talents for their good. The great leaders help people hone in on their talents for their good so they can develop. If
Right.
I'm just taking advantage of what you have to offer, like a talent scout in sports and baseball, that means I'm trying to recruit you to my team because you fit a model that I need and it benefit me. And I
Right.
think we gotta have more free thinkers and show them that yes, it's a time for that, but you got to break out of that box and then become the dynamic leader that you were created to be.
You know, Kendrick, and that reminds me of like kind of being a parent, right? Like you tell your children what to do as they're growing up, but you tell them that you try to guide them because at some point in time in life, you want them to be able to be leaders. So you try to teach them how to be leaders and not followers the whole entire time. Because like you said, everyone has a gift, everyone has a talent. It may seem insignificant to some, but that's what God gave you. And if you use that talent, you can have a life of your dreams.
Yeah.
And use that talent to help others. Because that's even just like the podcast, you counseling and all things you do, it's to help others. Like that makes me tick, helping others, help people believe in themselves, help them get to the next step. Because I remember being young and trying to figure all this stuff out, and there was nobody there to guide me.
Yeah.
You know, there was no free advice. There was no advice, even if I could have paid for it. I probably couldn't afford it at that time as a child. But so that makes me tick, kind of like your thing, like trying to teach people how to deal with situations that can later on be a problem, you know, later on
Yeah.
be a crisis. So.
Yeah. And I tell a lot of people that I see, everything that I do, I tell people they could do. So I believe everybody got a book inside of them that they can write. Especially now when it's a step-by-step process on how to do it and how to publish it. So I don't want people to think that they're so far removed from me because of what I did. I want them to see that, hey, I came from the same humble beginnings you came from. I just chose to take in all this information, but I chose to give it back and encourage other people to use it to provide wisdom for other people, and knowing that we have a responsibility to pay it forward. Because everybody always say, well, I'm self-made. Nobody's self-made because
Right.
somebody helped you along the way.
Yep.
Somebody helped you do something. They gave
Yep.
you a chance. They may not have given you money, but they gave you a chance. And we get a choice and chance every day. What are we going to do with it?
Yep.
And so we got to stop, um, we got to stop, continuing the same pattern and learn to break those patterns and really use what's inside of us to push ourselves forward, but also to encourage others to take the next step. So that like I said, that's part of the life lessons that shaped us, but that's why we do the work that we do now.
Exactly. And I always knew I wanted to do something. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a businessman. I knew I wanted to do something along these lines. And one thing led to the other. So it's a blessing.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Life Lessons and Legacy. I hope you found our discussion thought-provoking and inspiring. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps us to improve and reach more listeners like you. Remember, life is a journey of growth and discovery, and every experience, both the highs and the lows, contributes to the legacy we leave behind. So embrace each moment, cherish the lessons, and live with purpose. You can find more resources, including my book, Life Lessons and Legacy: How to Take Life's Lessons and Shape Your Legacy, available for purchase on my website at www.lifelegacy.com. lessonandlegacy.com, also available on amazon.com. On my website, you'll also discover information about my life coaching services and speaking engagements designed to help you unlock your full potential and live a life full of purpose. I'm Cedric D. Nelson. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.